This is Charter Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance in San Luis Obispo County today. We are joined by Dr. Jean-Pierre Wolff. He is the Vice President of the Coastal San Luis Resource Conservation District. Sir, I thank you for joining us. What exactly is a Resource Conservation District?
Conservation District is a special district of the state of California. The conservation districts were established after the Dust Bowl, and the intent is to preserve the land, basically.
Some feel as if we're back in a Dust Bowl era. Hopefully not so much, but...
Very much so.
And in some large communities, the members of the districts are elected. In others, they're appointed. Here in this county, they're appointed by the Board of Supervisors.
That's correct.
So what is the goal of RCDs today? What is its purpose?
The purpose of the RCD is to help preserve and conserve land. Also, the wildlife habitat and aquatic habitat, and also preserving vegetation, so it has an erosion control role.
You are so busy, I cannot even imagine. The last 4 years have wreaked havoc on all the areas you just described. I guess we can start with habitat and wildlife. I mean, we know up and down the state, habitat is suffering from turtles due to fire, from squirrels due to loss of food, from bears and deer, from fish because of warm waters, from salmon. I mean, it goes on and on. How is this region's wildlife habitat being impacted?
Well, the habitat has been impacted significantly. One, for example, is loss of foraging for the wildlife. The other one, particularly in aquatic habitat, you know, many creeks have ran dry, or some of the deeper pools, you know, have been threatened. So a lot of our activity has been a little bit more on the reactive and adaptation to the drought.
And has the district been able to react quickly enough? You know, this is Mother Nature, and Mother Nature can move quickly or slowly, but it's hard to repair the acts of our mother.
True, but you know, one of the initiatives that we've been involved with, which was grant funded, is called climate change adaptation, and it's basically, you know, getting over the rhetoric about whether or not we do have climate change, but adapting. And so this involves topics such as revegetation of certain areas, sloping, erosion control.
But when you think about revegetation, for example, that vegetation needs water, and that water is not readily accessible today. And in some cases, I understand, you can grow vegetation, rain will come, it will grow a little bit, but then it will dry out, which increases wildfire danger, and then that whole cycle starts over.
Very true. There are certain type of grasses which tend to be more drought resistant. Using, for example, native grasses, which are more adaptive to dry climate, trying to also manage weed control in a different manner. For example, utilizing goats rather than utilizing mechanical equipment.
Not a bad idea, if I may say. Let's talk about ag, because we are on the Central Coast, and ag has become really a critical economic driver, especially grapes. I'm speaking to someone, if I may say. In your other hat, you work in vineyards. And so what is the district doing to try to bolster, try to remedy the challenges presented by our drought?
Well, one of them has been our mobile irrigation lab.
Tell us about it.
And our mobile irrigation lab, basically we go to vineyards and we perform efficiency tests of the irrigation system. So if you have, say, a drip irrigation system, we perform computer simulation of the uniformity of the efficiency. We also make recommendation in terms of the pumping equipment, variable frequency drive, pump efficiency test, to try to basically improve how the irrigation is being performed. also helping growers with a better evaluation and analysis of how much water is to be applied through soil moisture sensors.
Let me ask you though about vineyards, because for better or for worse, grapes are perceived to be thirsty. And even though grapes may use less water than certain nuts or other row crops, there is that perception out there.
Correct.
And so what can you do? What have you done? I mean, you're talking about these smart irrigation practices, but given this perception, where does the district go from here?
Well, that's where we come in, is to help the growers improve the efficiency, thus use less water per acre. We also help them with their nutrient management,
Right.
Which is basically how much fertilizer is applied. And this has happened incidentally also with row crops, not strictly with wine grapes.
And as you know, in August, the State Water Board put some restrictions on vineyards, water restrictions, which could have been painful. I mean, did they impact vineyards here in San Luis Obispo County?
Well, there's certainly, with the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act,
right.
There's definitely going to be down the road some requirements from the county, particularly in basins that have been identified as critical, high and medium priorities.
Does your district cover the Paso Robles water basin?
No.
Lucky you.
No, it does not,
Yes.
but we do cover Los Osos,
Right.
which that particular area is in adjudication.
Right, which
but
is
it is
easier in some ways. I
in
mean, at least
some-
you don't have to find a groundwater management plan because it's already been determined.
However, right now the management plan through the adjudicatory process is being reviewed and being presented.
Oh my.
We cover also the Nipomo area,
Right.
and part of the Edna Valley, which is a medium priority basin.
Right.
So
Now, but Nipomo, I understand, is bringing water now in from Santa Maria.
Correct.
Which has got to be beneficial or helpful at least. Is that fair?
Correct. But the Sigma, as an acronym is, certainly is going to be a game changer in a sense. And we see our RCD having a active role in helping being part of the solution.
Indeed. I want to ask you at the same time about another one of your duties, focusing on flood management, erosion management. It seems like, well, how could I even think of those words during this drought? But we've heard from scientists that there's a 95% chance that we will face an El Nino. How strong it will be, we don't know. Whether it gets high enough in this state to impact the Central Coast, we don't know. But what's the RCD doing in preparation of a potential El Nino?
Well, I certainly have to agree with you, because I tend to share the view that perhaps this winter agriculturists will have to trade dry wells for sandbags.
Right.
But in terms of prevention, some of the activities has involved a creek management. One of the problems and consequence of the last 4 years of drought is that many creeks have not ran, and you do not have a scouring effect at the bottom of a creek, taking away vegetation, and some creek beds look like a little forest because there has been no natural mechanism of washing away and derooting some of the young plants.
And when you come back, we'll talk more about that issue. His name is Jean-Pierre Wolff. He is the Vice President of the Coastal San Luis Resource Conservation District. My name is Brad Pomerance in San Luis Obispo. This is Charter Local Edition. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.